Hey guys, this is Paul aka Internet with PokerMarket's Hand of the Day, and today I have something of the basic hands category for you. So we're just going to look at something very standard, which was posted on the 2+2 forums by a user called Rupslockus or something like that. And the hand was played on NL50 on PokerStars Zoom, and we're going to look over the action and I'll give my input on that. So we see pre-flop it folds to Hero, who's in the small blind, who decides to go for a 3 big blind open raise, which I think is reasonably standard. There's other options such as raising smaller, raising bigger, or limping, but the 3 big blind open raise is very common and standard. Then the big blind decides to go for a 9 big blind 3-bet, so tripling the size of Hero's open raise, making a pot size 3-bet. And in this situation with Ace-Jack, Hero doesn't have too many options. Calling is the super main standard, and anything else doesn't really work too well. We get a flop of Jack 8-2, with the 8 and 2 being of the suit of our Jack, and the Ace being of the suit of the Jack. Not very important here, but having this suit does mean you're blocking the backdoor nut flushes, which is kind of sort of important, but in this case, it's not really what we're going to focus on. Hero checks as usual. The big blind decides to make a continuation bet of slightly above half pot, maybe a 60% sizing. And in this situation, Hero does the very standard check call in this spot. Raising sometimes is certainly correct, but calling is more or less the standard play. And the turn card is 5 of clubs, bringing up the aforementioned backdoor flush draw. And Hero very rarely should play a donk here, so yeah, just clear check. The opponent 2 barrels for again slightly above half pot. I guess this is again very close to 60% sizing or so. And in this situation, Hero actually has a very reasonable pushing option, as there's a double flush draw on the board, lots of straight draws between Jack and 8, 8 and 5, and also between 5 and 2. So it certainly makes a lot of sense to take the Ace-Jack and play it as a pushing hand here. One thing which does make this less of a push, though, is the fact that we do have 1 club and 1 heart. It would be slightly better to push with an Ace-Jack that doesn't have this ace, but just a ace of a different suit. And as such, I do agree with the call here. However, jamming on the turn is certainly a very reasonable option. But the actual interesting point of contention in this hand is the river. So Hero on a very blank 5 river goes in and checks, which is good. And the big blind decides to go all in, which is now about 30 into 40, so about a 70% bet. And Hero has a tough decision, and but does decide to call and ask if there's any way to play this differently. And the short answer is no. River is a very standard call, and there's absolutely nothing we can do besides that. However, the question, of course, is maybe we can find a Hero fold on the river, as I would expect when the person posts the hand that they probably lost it on the river, and they were thinking about folding but then didn't fold, and then they felt like, well, but I knew I should have folded, so maybe let's post it on the forums. So here, well, the opponent does have, of course, pocket queens, kings, aces, a fair amount of the time, some other stronger hands, maybe a 5 occasionally. Pocket jacks, of course, also possible. But I want to say just resoundingly, you're not supposed to fold this. This is never a fold on the river. Top pair, top kicker in a 3-bet pot for 100 big blinds when there is no straight and no flush possible is very strong, and you're absolutely not supposed to fold this here. So no, there's no problem. I'm calling this down. I would not have played this any differently. In fact, I would have called the river very quickly without thinking too much about it. And we actually have to call with every jack here. If we have a worse jack, we might think about folding it, but with Ace-Jack, there's no way we're folding it. There's even a small chance the big blind does have a King-Jack here going for value like this. He could certainly have an Ace-Jack going for value like this, so we will call and split sometimes, and that just goes to show that there's no way we could ever fold. So the hand is well played, and that's it for the first hand of the day.